to another episode of Beyond the Dumbbells, your snarky source for all things nutrition, fitness, wellness, and lifestyle, from damaged libidos to a-holes at your local gym, and everything in between. So, more to the point, everything in life except when you're actually swinging a dumbbell. So, hence the name. Clever, right? All right.
You're so smart.
I'm so smart. A lot of articles have been popping up about weight, and I don't know if it's the time of year. I've never noticed so much in the news about what's going on with being overweight or being obese. Mm-hmm. All right, so I've tried crafting something that was going to be a little bit more intellectual to read, and it's just too much. We talked about it. It's too much to put into an email. It's too much to text. It's too much to post. And the best way to approach it is to actually have a dialogue, because it's going to allow some of my passion to not come out as me just trying to be an a-hole, but more that the growing problem that we have, it's not being addressed seriously.
Right.
And there's enough of a problem now that forget that it's a burden of, it's a higher cost burden on the medical industry and all of our shares and what we have to pay into helping everybody stay healthy. But the national crisis of it, the national security crisis of it, that we don't have a fighting population right now.
Right.
And that if we were invaded, there's a good chance that a large number of people would be more of a burden to the cause than a help.
Absolutely.
Okay, so a couple big things, and you had a chance to look these over briefly too as well. Right. So something that came out, CDC puts out statistics every couple of years. They're always a few years behind by the time the data filters in. And the big one that hit the news, and this thing was published in the UK, but it was talking about the United States' the obesity rate that we have now. And it's always been bad. It's been 65%, 67%, and then we've been talking recently that it's gotten as high as 70%. Nobody really pays attention because no one really pays attention to anything else except themselves.
Yep.
Okay? And if you're carrying around a few extra pounds, it's nobody's business. And, you know, no one really wants to think of themselves as being a statistic in the growing national problem.
Right.
So I think it gets ignored.
Oh, absolutely. And I think a lot of people are focusing on things they shouldn't. Like BMI comes up all the time, and it's like, well, that's completely unrealistic. But rather than being even in like a healthy range, it's like, well, I'm 5'8". They want me to weigh 100 pounds. It's like, so fine, I'll be 5'8" and weigh 350. Like,
it's unrealistic now because people don't want to do it.
Right.
So this report came out, and it's got a nice juicy map of the United States, and it pretty much shows everything east of Colorado is 30% or more overweight, with some states getting up into 40%.
Yep.
And that 40% of a state's population is overweight or obese. Well, actually, I think they're cited as obese. So it's not even just addressing overweight, that you have a state level crisis going on where forget what the government can do for you as far as the federal, but your state initiative isn't there either.
Correct.
There was the presidential fitness thing when we were growing up. I don't even know if they still have that. But there was initiative when Schwarzenegger would be there with Reagan, and they'd be talking about making smarter food choices. Even Bush Sr. making smarter food choices, don't eat donuts, do exercise.
Right.
And now it's gotten to where that narrative doesn't show up anywhere. I don't even hear politics talking about nutrition anymore or healthy lifestyle.
No.
They're too concerned with testing kids to death, SOLs, and, you know, hyper focused on kids in the books.
Yeah.
You know, even though we're not the smartest nation anymore, we're not the powerhouse in science and math. And we're behind on everything, and yet our kids are in school all the time, and they're focused on stupid studies and not life.
Right.
So when we're looking at, let me pull this up here. Virginia, by the way, is over. It's 30 to 35%.
Yeah.
That's frightening.
Yeah.
And as a fitness professional, so you and I being in the business, and I had this conversation with a client last night, the emotional conviction that I carry to help people, and it gets stepped on with just bull jive. You know, you forget, people don't really understand the mindset of someone that's willing to give everything to help somebody in that way.
Right.
Because you do have to get into the psychology and the emotion and to get into these people's lives. It's not like you're a small business where you're just helping somebody take their wedding photos, or you're a small business and you're a basket weaver. I mean, you don't have to get emotionally invested in people. Being an entrepreneur, at that level. But when you're talking about fitness, when I look around and I look at what the population is, one, it's a target-rich environment. Hey, this business should be always easy and to come by. But when you can't address the real problems, people won't acknowledge where they are. People won't acknowledge the work it takes to get where they need to be. And then they don't have the social pressure anymore to be healthy.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that's the biggest of them all for the conversations that you and I have with people is it's like, look, my parents are never going to understand that I'm dieting. So I need your help on how to get through this weekend because I got to eat all my favorite dishes growing up, even though I'm going to feel miserable about myself. And I'm going to spend pretty much half my time in the bathroom. But it's easier for me to say that than to have a conversation saying, hey, grandma and grandpa, they left this world either obese, overweight, in really bad shape, and I don't want to follow them. And we hear a lot about people that it's like, how could you say something like that? Like there was nothing wrong with the way they lived.
In a society of tender feelings now, you can't say something to somebody that's factually true. Even if truth hurts, you're not supposed to say it. Right. I mean, it's cool to do every other kind of, lie. But when you actually have to make somebody confront what's going on with them, calling somebody out on their crap, it's just not cool anymore. Right. So if somebody's living if somebody's living a life that you think that it's putting them in danger, their own health and fitness, you're not allowed to point that out. We've got friends that they always offer to help in business. Like, hey, how can I help your business? Like, well, if you can randomly roll up to people and tell them they're fat and they need to go work out at my gym, go for it. But that's never going to be welcome. That's not a conversation. And I can't really be like, hey, do you know John Doe? So he left your name and number and said that I should get in contact with you because you have a weight problem.
Oh my gosh.
It's never going to happen. No. So the referral business and fitness, you've got to have someone that wants the help. And then you guide them in. But part of the conversation and the dialogue about the obesity, and the reason we're talking about this is I honestly don't know the triggers that are kind enough to get somebody to say, can you spend the next 6 months just trying to make yourself better? And it gets into don't fat shame me. I'm happy the way I am. I do what makes me happy, and people don't want to look at it. We're training 50, 60-year-olds as well. And we've got people that are 300 pounds. So we had a lady that came in yesterday. She's 300 pounds and she is getting ready to turn 60. And the lady said, I'm in trouble. My joints are broken down. I don't move at all. I need surgery because of the wear and tear on my body for carrying this weight for so long. And I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm fearful. And she had made a side crack. She goes, I already know I'm working until I'm 75. So I need to, I guess, get stuff going in the right direction.
Right. And
the conversation was amicable because she recognized that there was no more time. And because that opportunity had left her, it escaped her, the number, her age ticking up, she had said, if I don't do something now, I'm dead because if I live another 20, 30 years, I won't be able to take care of myself. People don't have that urgency now.
No.
They don't believe that there is a mechanism. There's nothing that's going on in life right now that someone can't survive an episode. So if it's a preventable disease, you're overweight and you're carrying this weight for long term, you develop high blood pressure, no problem, there's meds.
Right.
You end up with diabetes, no problem, there's meds. You have a heart attack, there's surgery, and there's the medical field can take care of you. You don't have to really worry about dropping off a cliff. Like, well, if it happens, then I'll conform.
Right.
But you've had conversations with people that have been in the same boat where they keep stepping on themselves.
I think the saddest thing with those conversations is I think sometimes pride plays into it where it's like, who do you think you are? Being in we'll talk about us, being in the profession you are, who do you think you are to give me advice on something? And it's like, I can do this on my own. Or we have some people who will come in and it's like, what brought you here today? And it's like, they start to almost talk themselves out of it. So it starts with an awesome conversation. I have a friend here. They say they love you guys, and then it starts to go, but I love the way I look. I am me. I'm going to do my own life. These meds are helping me on this thing and none of this is actually really important. Right. And it's like, I think sometimes pride plays into it. But what I wish people would realize, we all need a coach in different areas of our life. And health and fitness is just one of those. Like you can't figure it out all on your own.
first off, there's no one thing to point to.
Oh, gosh, no.
And I don't believe anymore people suffer from overeating. I've seen more times than not people that have been in front of me that were significantly overweight. And we talked about this on other shows. They were sub 1,000 calorie days for people. And they're so mixed on their content of what they eat. Forget the quality of where it comes from or the debate as far as pesticides, organic or not. I mean, take all that out of the equation. They're eating hollow, meaningless foods.
Right.
Some of them, if they're able and their bodies are willing, they're doing excessive cardio and sub-calorie cutting, and it's developing into an eating disorder. And most people think eating disorder like it's bulimia or anorexia, but there's something really overt, and it's it's horrible. This not eating is an eating disorder. We're not even talking about people that binge and purge. We're talking about people that have developed a metabolism that is so non-responsive that they have no cravings to eat anything over 500, 600 calories a day. This is also a current client that I can't get out of 700 calories a day. And it's hollow, meaningless food. And when they start adding 100 calories, they're like, I feel full, I feel gross, I don't want this, it's not working. And this is a 230, 240 pound plus person.
Right.
Okay. So not being able to pinpoint what's going on or where it's coming from, and we've talked about this too, it's not the gym. The gym isn't the answer anymore. Any gym owner that's selling you on the story that come to my gym, just being present in my gym is going to help you lose weight. They're lying to you, okay? Because if sweating got it done, we'd all be in shape. And I would be able to eat whatever I want. But the body is a biochemical wonder. And everything within the body, there is a ebb and flow. There's a positive and negative. There's an acidic and alkaline. Everything has balance in the body. And when the food you take in isn't balanced, the body can't create balance. When your lifestyle isn't balanced, you won't have balance. So for someone, it's like, well, I'm on medical food with my doctor. I'm getting B12 shots. I'm on this crazy drug. I'm doing these crazy things. I'm fasting all the time. I'm keto. I'm doing this.
Right.
If you can't get your lifestyle conformed and you can't get to the root of the problem, lack of vitamin D, Vitamin D's got an issue on mood. You don't have mood. You're not doing dopamine. You're not inspired to do workouts. You don't want to go do them. So you're not actually being active. Too much screen time means your face is down and you're not doing things, whether it's not eating or not being active. When we talk about lifestyle, it has to start with a very small step that just says, well, let's figure out where you are. Let's take a little bit of time and figure out what you do regularly and what we can improve. And then from there, let's watch how you respond. And there's going to be some positive steps, and then there's some that backslide, and then we have to make changes. No one wants to do that. I mean, it's like building a custom home.
No, I absolutely agree. And I think people have in their minds sometimes, and I think I used to be one of them, that it's once you kind of get to where you want to be or close to it, it's just like this, well, I hit my goal weight or my goal body fat, and my doctor says I'm doing great. So then it starts to be these small things like, well, I'm going to incorporate this again, and I'm going to cut out exercise that I've been used to doing. And then you see the exact flip-flop happen. So you've gotten healthier, you're feeling more confident, your insides look better, and then it's like, I'm going to start playing games.
And that, I think, falls into society doesn't encourage, and Bill Maher, we were talking about something, he said, we'll get that in a second, the idea that there isn't enough shaming anymore. And we did something on fat shaming a little while ago, and when we say fat shaming, I'm not talking about bullying people.
No,
and
completely
being
different.
Like, you're disgusting. That's not the fat shaming. The shaming that I think that he made an example of, which of course got a very negative response, was when society accepts you the way that you are, which is a good thing. But when society doesn't give you the incentive to be healthy, people in their own natures won't be healthy. It's an active choice. And what you're saying is, hey, I feel good, I look good, shit, let's game on. I can go back to boozing and partying, and I'll get to it next week. Oh, it's Tuesday, I slept in, I'll start next Monday. And you backslide. The body is always trying to kill you. The body wants you fat and dead. Let's just go there. So anytime you think that your mind can just put your body on cruise control and it's going to conform and behave the way you want it to, you're fooling yourself.
I wish it did.
Dude, I would be chiseled all the time.
Exactly.
And it's a big joke, but it is obsessive OCD work to maintain lean body mass. I mean, you're hardcore counting and watching your calories. Everything is programmed, from your rest to your training to how you socialize, how you recover. Everything you do goes into where you want to end up.
Right.
And the highest performing athletes and competitive bodybuilders and the people that are physique built, those people live a lifestyle that 99.9% of the population couldn't even fathom conforming to that level. And then when people see those folks, they're like, must be nice. It must be nice to have those genetics. It must be nice to be able to do these things. I've seen people with massive amounts of body fat go down to 3-4%. And it's humbling because I know what it takes to maintain 6 to 7% to see these guys hold on to 4 and 5%.
Right. Do you think that, it seems like magazines and social media and everything focus so much on those lean frames, and what makes me sad about that is most of what people are seeing are photoshopped images. There are some people that if you see them in a live video and their physique is absolutely amazing, they have put in the work, the time, they're eating right and everything. I have to wonder if the obesity rate keeps climbing because somebody who has, let's say, 200 pounds to lose, that's who they're following on everything. They're following, the CrossFit athletes and the bodybuilders and everything that are so fit. And they are so far from it that it's like, well, I'm never going to be there anyway. So I might as well just
So do you mean follow
eat
like
a cheeseburger.
Like eat like they eat or train like they train or
No,
they just
follow like on social media. They're following people that are constantly like an in your face of you are not this.
Interesting.
Or they're not finding groups or friends or family members to just say, I'm really struggling. Can you take this journey with me? Or they're
the in-betweens.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
But I wonder, don't you think there's just like there is, because fat shaming has become this thing now where you can't even say to somebody, can I help you lose weight? And they're like, why are you calling me fat? And it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't. But it's like there's such a thing on you have to be so careful that maybe they're in their mind, it's like,
sure,
this is where, Brian and Jen are trying to get me to. They're trying to make me look like Brian. And it's like, no, we're not. We're just letting you know we know how to help you get there.
Well, we live in a world where you can get destroyed for having a political position on something.
Yes.
We talked to a client this morning that was talking about how his person, it was found out he voted for Trump, and it was just this barrage of how could you? And it was okay to approach someone over a political freedom.
Yeah.
And to say to somebody, it's like, look, you take up 2 seats on an airplane.
Right.
You're different than me.
Yes.
And that's not meaning that I don't want you to be different. Be as different as God created you.
Exactly.
God didn't create you as 400 pounds.
Right.
That was your choice. Okay. That's why gluttony is a sin. When you look at newsstands now, I think people are softer because now you've got plus size models on everything. And people with women, I'm ready to speak outside of my scope here.
I'll correct you if you're wrong.
Women's bodies are so much different than guys, and just that the body types, because you've got hips and boobs and shoulders and legs, and there's so many factors that goes into how you create a pair of jeans for a gender.
Yes.
Guys, you got straight, boot, skinny. That's it. You don't have to worry about high-waisted, low-waisted, big legs, little legs.
That's right.
There's some for bodybuilders, obviously, for guys. But for women, I can totally understand that for the longest time, if you had some extra weight, it was difficult to find a pair of jeans that fit right.
Oh my gosh.
And I always think about the jean thing because when jeans fit right, you feel awesome. And when they fit bad, you feel bad. And the guys, it's the same thing. A good jeans are supposed to be like your pajamas for the outside.
Exactly.
So when you start seeing plus size models, and there's a section for plus size. It's awesome. But when the majority of the store has got, what was the size that we saw at American Eagle this weekend?
22.
I mean, you used to have to go to a specialized store for that. And
Absolutely.
here, there's racks of clothes for this stuff. And the models on the wall are big people.
Yes.
And this is where we start talking about social acceptance versus social shaming. And Bill Maher, one of the things that he had said was to get people to wear their seatbelts, you had to shame them first. It was the first step in conformity. And when people smoked, you had to shame them. You put them outside, you put them in their own place. It was okay to come down on a smoker and be like, what you're doing is wrong, dude, and I'm going to make you do it outside. But when it comes to people and their behaviors, it's almost like it's a hands-off. And it's food and alcohol are the most accepted drugs in our country.
Yeah.
You can eat whatever you want. You can sit there and crush as much food as you want, and you won't get an eye bash from the waiter or the people you're sitting at the table with. And if you're all doing it, because now you're all kind of, what's the word? Enabling. You're enabling yourself, and your friends are enabling you, and you're enabling them. There is no recourse.
Right.
Get up the next day and go to the gym? I don't think so. We're going to start over again.
Exactly. Yeah, I think there's a interesting transition too. I grew up in a house where it's not so much dieting was encouraged, but it was kind of like watching what you eat was encouraged. And from a dad who's 6'3" and a mom who's 5'2", I mean, we had very different body types in there. So our rule of thumb was always, you finish what's on your plate unless you're full. But if you don't finish your dinner and you want a snack later, because we're kids and all kids are evil,
that's true.
Your snack was the rest of your dinner.
What?
Yes. So if it was, because first of all, I have two sisters, so it's girls and we're conniving and sneaky. But it was what you wanted to do was not eat all your dinner because you knew that there was some ice cream in the freezer. So you would say, oh my God, I'm full. And then in 20 minutes, you're like, oh, I'm hungry. So if you didn't eat your dinner was your snack.
We never got to leave the table.
Yeah. So what we started doing was it's like portion control. Did you take too much dinner? Yes. Okay. So you start to scale back. If you ate your dinner and you're comfortable and you're not unbuttoning your jeans, which we've all done, and then later on you want a dessert, that's fine. Our dessert was always measured. Our dessert was always watched.
Really?
It wasn't a free-for-all. It wasn't a have 12 pieces of pie, or it was...
That's funny because that's not how your family is now.
No, now it's a gorge out on dessert.
There's 4 pies and there's
exactly.
lots of ice cream.
Yes. But there is such a thing today on fat shaming that parents, and I've heard it over and over and over again, I don't want my kid to be on a diet. I don't want this for them. But you are okay, and I use that in air quotes, that your kid goes to school and they're the heaviest in the class that does get made fun of because you're not going to say you need to finish your healthy dinner. No, you don't get a snack every night. You get dessert on Friday nights.
Interesting.
It's twisted.
That's interesting. So, and we were also like a payday dessert, so we even had to wait for payday.
You better believe it.
And mine was always the hostess. It wasn't, I don't know what you call it, but the hostess like pies in a bag thing.
Oh, did you do which kind?
Apple.
Apple is the best.
Yep, but it was coated in sugar, and it was a crusty kind of
so delicious
pastry. But that was every 2 weeks. I got something like that.
Yeah, Apple host. It was Hostess.
But now, I mean, you've got everything's at hand.
Yep.
So when we talk about this thing being a national crisis, and one of the conversations we have with our clients, and before we decide to put a program for them together, if we do something at the gym or if we do shapeshift, it's what are your goals? And if you continued on this path, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And most people, they give me this this kind of double take, and they're like, well, what do you mean? Well, you're 285 pounds right now. You're 40+% body fat. Where do you think you're going to go if you stay the way you are? The right answer should be, I could be dead.
Yes.
My blood pressure is over 140. I'm on medication there. I've got high cholesterol. Of course, I'm pre-diabetic. And the urgency there is that for some folks, they come in assuming they have a problem. They're the least responsive to a program. Right. And then you've got the ones where the doctor sends them in and they're like, I desperately need this because my doctor says the next step is meds.
Yeah.
Not knowing that there's a spot before that you can turn that back.
Exactly. And I wish so much that people could just be honest with themselves and, when they're in the grocery store buying foods or when they're deciding to scale back on exercise versus progressing forward, and it's not due to an injury or doctor's orders. It's just like, I've kind of had it. I wish people could almost see what 5 years from now could look like. So you can either just feel better, be able to play with your kids, travel with your spouse, and not have to worry about pains in your knees and,
not fitting in an airplane seat.
I was just going to say, not buying an extra airplane seat because you have to. And realize that if you don't take care, if you are obese and you don't take care of it, you really could die. Like,
I think
truly.
Everyone expects medicine to save them.
Yep. And you hear it all the time. I mean, my mom worked in pediatrics for years, and some of the stories that she had never used names, nationalities or anything. But some of those stories she had, if I think about it now, I'd probably cry. And it's like, wait a minute. Do you see that your kindergartner, number one, they're being bullied, and number two, they're wearing a size bigger than their fathers. They were huge kids. It would never surprise me if she read in the newspaper that one of those kids that she was involved with is dead. It wouldn't.
There was, I think the fact that there's a bailout with modern medicine lets people be crazy. For example, there was another news article that talked about, I think it was in the UK, that behavior that increases the chances of contracting HIV, that those behaviors have stepped back up again. And that there's more people being diagnosed with something that should be declining instead of it's getting worse.
Oh, man.
And I believe that most of that is on the eve of, they're now saying that they're close to a vaccine. And now people on the HIV cocktail, they're going right into, undetectable. So but because there's a bailout, there's really no recourse anymore. And if it gets to a point where it's like, well, I always have a way out.
Yeah.
That the obesity thing leads to that. There's no responsibility because people have a way to not have to address it until it's too late.
Yeah. Well, do you remember we had a client tell us, I think it was around 10 pounds, that it was recommended by their doctor to go ahead and add more weight because then they would be a candidate for a gastric bypass. And it would be at the point where they were, the doctor's recommendations was, well, we can get you back down to a healthier range faster by cutting you open, but you just need to put on some more weight, do some more damage to your body that way, versus saying, I am the opposite, which is what I would have expected. Oh my gosh, you're 10 pounds away from this. You are now in this is critical. You've got to get the weight off.
Other than our amazing life-extending medical services, the medical community disgusts me.
It's bad.
That some of these folks, there's medical reports on, stay clear of high-protein diets because they're dangerous, but they will cut you open and staple your stomach shut.
Yes. They
will remove part of your digestive system. They'll recommend intake more food, get bigger, and then I can justify doing this to you.
Exactly.
It's a sad state when medicine has gone from extending and prolonging life through natural path to people saying, I'll just put you on more drugs and I'll just do more of this. As a society, everyone's cool with it.
Right.
I mean, because it's obvious because you respond with your lifestyle. If there was more urgency, your lifestyle would conform. So
the conversations they really need to be honest. And don't hide from, if you're walking into your doctor's office, your question needs to be, am I on a healthy range or not? Can I actually see a BMI chart and see where I'm at? And if your doctor's like, hey, you're average and you're good to go, be like, okay, what is it going to take for me to below it? Because the last thing in the entire world that I want is to leave this earth in a wheelchair or incapacitated because it was something I could control. An accident's an accident.
But preventable is, I couldn't live with myself.
There's no possible way. There's no possible way. My mom had a really good friend growing up, and when she would have to go to the doctor, I can't even explain. She was morbidly obese, and when she would have to go, there would have to be a medical team to go into her house and take her by ambulance to this place. She could not fit in a car. She couldn't fit in a van. She couldn't drive. She was so huge.
That's some Gilbert Grape stuff right
Exactly. It is Gilbert Grape.
Ugh. So, as a society, if we're taking a page out of Bill Maher's dialogue, his and he's obviously satirical. He's got a terrible sense of humor, and it's always very well or very ill received.
Yeah.
If you don't have someone that's trying to encourage you to live a healthy lifestyle, you're never going to do it. There's no reason.
Right.
If you weren't ticketed for speeding, you'd always speed.
Yes.
There's got to be something that's got to come out of it that's going to make you conform. If you can look at yourself now in your current situation and say, where am I going to be in 3 years? Where am I going in 5 years? Am I on a path? And here's the problem. Here's a big part of the problem. People don't want to do the work.
No.
And the work sucks, okay? Because shopping clean, single ingredient, 2 to 3 ingredient foods is boring.
It is. Sucks.
Eating out, good luck finding a place that's going to support your nutritional guidelines. We've got like 2 or 3 restaurants we can go to in all of like 30 miles. And the only time we can eat somewhere else is when we acknowledge this meal on this day is not going to count towards our goals, so we're going to make accommodations for it either before or right after.
Exactly.
But people don't want to do that work. If you're not willing to put in 6 months to erase years of bad choices, you're never going to change.
Nope.
If you think that a 6-week challenge is your start and your finish to your solution, so you're 46 years old, you're 85 pounds overweight, after a 6-week challenge, you lose 35, 40 pounds, and you think you're done, you've just begun to fail again.
Yes.
You're just in the cusp of refailing.
Yes.
And finding a solution that's going to last long term, I'm sorry, you can't drink every weekend.
Right.
You can't. You can't do gummy bears and smoke weed and drink every weekend and wonder why you feel and look like hell all the time. People don't want to give up on that.
Right. And I'd say too, be mindful of if that's your path and you really don't care, don't feed it to the people that you know and love. So if you're fine with being in an obese category, but you don't want your kids to be fit, you got issues. Don't take people down the rabbit hole. And if somebody comes to you and they say, I am currently on a diet and this is what I'm doing, and thank you, but I'm going to pass on your dessert. Rather than the people who fat shame, don't skinny shame them by being like, I can't believe you're not going to have some of my Hostess apple pie.
That's a fantastic effing point, because this skinny shaming or healthy lifestyle shaming is much worse than fat shaming.
Oh, it's it.
I've gotten both barrels from my family. We've gotten both barrels from your family. And it's like, what's the matter with you? Did you not see how much I slaved all day?
Exactly.
What's the matter with you? You know what kind of a path I'm trying to live. Spouses that do it to each other.
Yes.
Kids that absolutely will not support their parents. Parents that won't support their kids.
Exactly. It's twisted.
The whole mechanism, and I never even thought about skinny shaming.
It's absolutely a real thing. But whatever your journey may be, first of all, if you're talking about it all the time and you say you don't care, you're lying to yourself. You absolutely care. But be mindful of your lack of support for people who want to live a healthy lifestyle. Be careful of the word fat and be careful of the word skinny.
No doubt.
Be mindful of the words that come out of your mouth and your reaction to things. And if somebody wants to, you're doing pizza night at your house and somebody wants to bring over grilled chicken salad for everybody and they're not eating a piece of pizza,
lay off.
Shut your mouth.
Back off.
And let them eat it.
That's, spouses do the same thing. If your significant other's trying to do behavioral change and they're trying to make accommodations in the house and you're too much of a stuck-up bastard to stop bringing home garbage because you're fine and it's their problem and they're not going to stick with it anyway. I can't even tell you the stuff that we've heard.
No, it's so bad.
It's spouses, I swear to God, they married their enemy. Because it's people that will happily see you fail again.
Yes.
But if you've got someone that needs the help and they can't even approach you anymore because of what a douchebag you are, guys and girls, shame on you.
It's so overwhelming to me because our house is so the exact opposite. I mean, you and I are pretty much eating differently all the time because of, honestly, we have both done the MRT, the blood test for food. We have figured out through trial and error that a lot of what works for you doesn't work at all for me. My favorite thing that you do is always, because you change what you do a lot to fit your training, but you always ask me if it's going to mess me up with what you do. And my favorite thing you do is that when you told me once that you hide food.
If I'm going to eat, if I have a quota I have to hit, I won't eat it in front of you.
Exactly. Where it will be like, hey, I'm going to go down and work on something and you're eating, but you never have left, like, I can't think of something I love. I don't know, sweet potato fries. You've never done a tray of those when I've been in the house and can smell them and want them. Ever.
Well, you've got
I said sweet potato fries.
You've got deeper relationship issues if you're not serving your person anyway. So this is a form of serving them. I'm going to do what I can to make you successful.
Yeah.
I'll take care of me. And when it's my turn that needs the attention, I know you'll support me.
Yes.
But finding that at home is number one.
Mm-hmm.
So, your parents with your kids too. I'm a broken record with this. Stop feeding your kids shit. They
Mm-hmm.
don't need to eat shit to be a kid.
They don't.
And the only way they're going to become eating disordered is if overweight mom and overweight dad make a big flipping deal out of what's going
Everything.
on. Yeah. So just mind your words.
Mm-hmm.
Another interesting thing I want to cover before we finished, and when it comes to giving nutritional advice
Mm-hmm.
and nutritional guidance, every state controls the laws about what you can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And every state, of course, is different.
Right.
And being able to give someone nutritional guidance versus being able to give somebody nutritional advice to treat a medical condition
Mm-hmm.
are two very different things. You're not allowed to diagnose or treat.
Right.
Okay, those are two big things. You're not a board certified professional.
Mm-hmm.
Dietitians go through boards and residencies, and they actually go into the field of treating people that are medically banged up with
Right.
food.
Right.
Nutritionists, lots of education. All right, so an actual nutritionist in certain states, to be able to call yourself a nutritionist, you have to have a license.
Exactly.
Registered dietitian, if you're going to talk to someone about their medical issues, you've got to be a registered dietitian. You've got to be able to use food as medicine.
Right.
Of all the 50 states, there are very few, Virginia's one of them, that lets you say whatever you want. I still can't cure illness and I can't diagnose
Right.
anything, right? But if I want to have a conversation with somebody about protein, I can. And the number one reason is to be able to help people who don't understand the basics.
Right.
And I'm blown away. I always skip the basics because I assume it's so well known now. You know, when I grew up, we didn't have food labels on food.
Right.
You know, and now everyone understands. They don't even know what a 2,000 calorie diet is, but they understand that that's what food labels are based on.
Exactly.
So when I'm having a conversation about a supplement or nutrition or do this, don't do that, I can do any of that stuff because the first thing I have to say is talk to your doctor if you have a medical thing or a prescription drug that's going to interfere with what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
I can't do those things for you. Now, the states that have the tightest legislation, you're not allowed to even talk about protein powder.
Exactly.
And this is what's scary because a lot of gym owner friends that I have, they're in states that are very heavily regulated.
Yes.
And they're given straight up nutritional guidance.
Yep.
You'll get sued out of existence. And unfortunately, it's going to be those board organizations that belongs to the nutritionists
Yes.
because they don't want you stepping on their turf, right? But let's go over some stats. So we're looking at some of the worst states when we talked about the article previously about the ones that are 35% and above. So right out of the gate, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Missouri, Iowa, even North Dakota. All right, so there's a small band. There's other states that are real bad. West Virginia and Kentucky are bad as well. But this first states that I'd mentioned, they are the worst as far as weight in the country, and they have the tightest laws on someone being able to give common sense advice.
I think that people should also, depending on who you're going to for advice, if you're paying somebody for this and it seems like they're giving you some really bizarre guidance, be careful that they're not trying to just keep you on a little bit.
Oh,
So those, especially those states, it's like their intent, like their entire business is built upon the fact that they are registered as a dietitian. They have passed their boards as a dietitian.
a lot of those. So you're saying they want to keep you fat, so they keep you on the hook.
Just be
Maybe.
mindful of what their history is with people versus people that can say, I know that anytime anybody in my family has talked to like a registered dietitian, some of the guidance is a little jacked.
It's dated. And these people are frozen in time. They're freaking
Exactly.
popsicles when it
Right.
comes to advice.
Yes. And I'm like, you know how we give our advice? Trial and error and research and trying things ourselves and saying, hey, lady and gentleman in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, will you all try something? Can we see if we can see how these results work for everybody? You know, are you healthy enough to try it? Are you not on any meds where you can do our program or programs? And let's see what the results are. Versus I'm giving the same nutritional guidance for these 45 people
Every person gets the same
for the
guidance.
last 10 years.
Yep.
Right.
And they're still using myplate.gov. I mean, it was
Probably the food pyramid. All that stuff makes me laugh.
dude, but we've just to throw stones. You don't go to a dentist with bad teeth. You don't
Exactly.
go to a doctor that smokes.
Yes.
You know, and you don't go to a nutritionist that's got a weight problem.
Exactly.
All right, you can't get your own self out of your own way. I want nothing you have to say to me.
Exactly.
You don't go to a gym with a fat gym owner.
No. No.
What the heck are you selling?
Nope.
Okay, so anyway, the point being, the heavily most legislated states where you will get sued into nowhere, they're the fattest in the country.
So
Tell me
wild.
we don't have a problem. And Virginia, even though we're on the map, Virginia and North Carolina, and then I think Texas is one of the next ones where you can pretty much sit down and have a conversation with somebody about, here's what you can eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Go with natural life, whole foods. Supplement with the basics. If you don't get a nice, colorful, robust, vegetable profile in your diet, you can't even tell somebody to not eat organic.
I know.
I mean, you can't have those conversations in those states. So real quick, I'm going to call them out just because they're the troublemakers in our union. Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, North Dakota, West Virginia, and Kentucky. You are the heaviest states in the country.
It's scary.
And it doesn't have to be that way. Colorado's got the prop, so they are the lowest. There's only one state that's 20 to 25%. And what's scary is in the 80s, I think the majority of the country was 20 to 25%.
That's crazy.
The majority of it. It was very difficult to find someone that was struggling with weight unless there was an eating thing, just calorie dense diet.
Oh, yeah.
But now you've got, like you talked already, we got toddlers that have no chance.
They really don't.
We haven't even touched the surface of the environmental implications, genetically modified foods, processed foods, the interference by technology, interfered with sleep, interfered with, the cycle of bad food, bad decisions, and then it starts over every day.
Well, aren't we still in the time where, wasn't there an article a while ago that was talking about the lifespan of people is actually going down now?
This is the first generation where the male population's lifespan is decreased. Yes.
It's very sad.
Yep. That was also a CDC report.
Well, that's go ahead, sorry.
They attribute a lot of that to suicides. But when you think about that, when you have so many suicides that it affects the life expectancy of a generation, it's a problem. But then look at what the source of the problem is. This is a much bigger conversation than our show right now. But when you look at the male body and endocrine disruptors that disturb testosterone production, and it goes from the food to the exposure to chemicals and toxins, to lifestyle. When testosterone is low, estrogen increases, it causes depression. Okay, so depression leads to suicide.
Right.
Why are there so many incidences of depression? Where did this come from? Why is it now so prevalent?
Right.
But now we're not just talking about, hey, suicide awareness. We're talking in a generation whose life expectancy has been reduced. And why isn't it the females? Because it's the testosterone impact on guys based on lifestyle and food and chemicals. I mean, what was one of the craziest things we read? Body Axe spray.
Oh my gosh.
It's a freaking body spray that they found reduces testosterone production.
Exactly.
You're supposed to smell sweet for the ladies, but you're too impotent to do anything with it. Sounds great.
I don't think the subject's
You laughed
funny.
at
I
it.
haven't heard the word impotent in a really long time.
Viagra for teenagers.
And no, we're not condoning it. Relax.
That's a party joke.
You're so wrong.
All right, awesome. So everything about today it's a harsh conversation, and the reason we decided to do it is that nobody's having it. And kids gloves, niceties, soft approach, get you to the finish line, and then you can join the fight in helping people you care about come out of the shadows. And the shadows are believing that being a 300-pound, 5'7" person is good. I had one sit in my office that said, I have a clean bill of health. My doctor said I'm good to go.
Exactly.
Your doctor lied to you.
Your doctor lied.
So the doctor just meant there's nothing I can give you drugs for right now.
Or
on your way.
Or if you're a really good doctor, you say you should gain some more weight and get surgery.
That's right. We can cut you open. So have the conversation with somebody that you love. If you're hearing this and you know you need to have a conversation, there are more options to shake a stick at. I know that Shapeshift is the only program that starts out with the intention of building a long-term relationship with you and your lifestyle. It's the only thing out there right now that's doing it, and we've got that thing built end to end. It's actually running and working. But you're not going to find a lot of options out there with it. Weight Watchers, you're prescribed to their foods. Nutrisystem, you're tied to their program. They're not teaching you to be a self-sustaining human. They're teaching you to depend on them.
Right.
Find a program that teaches you how to be independent. That's what Shapeshift does.
Well, and these other programs it's like, let's just get you ready for an event and then you're home free. This one is, let's get you ready for life.
That's it. Not the wedding, but for life.
For life.
That might be a new tagline. All right, brilliant. Thank you for having the conversation with me. I know that weight loss and being overweight and talking about family and everything else, it's a difficult conversation because you love people and you don't want to say things that hurt them. And
yeah, but you know what? Just think
real.
about it's parents. Do you want to bury your children before you because of obesity? Or do you want them to outlive you? I mean, these are real conversations that you and your spouse or significant other or whoever need to have. It's a very real thing. Stop hiding in the closet and pretending like you're fine when all of your numbers are showing otherwise. Be honest with yourself and live just an amazing life.
That's it. That's the key. Great. We'll see you on the next show.
All right.
All right. See you guys.
Later.